Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Confident CEO podcast. And today, what we are talking about is trademarks, because I have very recently, in the last 2 weeks, just the last 1 week, I have got my certification through to say that I own the Confident CEO as a trademark in the UK, which I'm super excited about. So I wanted to do an episode just talking about trademarks, talking about the process for me getting my trademark, why I did it, did I get legal advice, and just answer some of the questions that people have posed to me over the period of getting the trademark. Before we dive in, I obviously want to just clarify that this is not legal advice. I am just talking about my own journey to getting the trademark. And also remember that I got this trademark registered in the UK. So if you're listening from outside of the UK, then the process may be slightly different depending on where you live, depending on your legal jurisdiction. However, the content of this podcast episode is still going to be relevant to you. So without further ado, let's dive in. Hey there, I'm Verity Songon, and this is the Confident CEO podcast, the show that takes you behind the scenes of starting and running your small or not so small business. We will cut through the misinformation and bad advice about starting and running a business and give you actionable tips and advice that you can implement to grow, scale, and achieve your business goals. Let's dive in. So yes, in this episode, we are talking trademarks, and my particular trademark that I have got, the phrase, the Confident CEO, that is my trademark. Now, I'm going to go through a few different questions in this episode just to help keep the structure, but also to answer questions that people have posed me since I have got my trademark. So I'm going to talk about why did I get the trademark? Did I get legal advice? How long did it take? How much did it cost? And am I pleased that I did it? So to begin with, why did I get a trademark? If I'm being completely honest with you, the whole idea started with a conversation and an Instagram post. So I was talking to a coach who I know. She's not my business coach, but a coach who I know who has also got a stationery range, different to the Confident CEO stationery range, but she's still got her own stationery range. And one of the things that she said was one of the first things that she did when she started her stationery range was actually get the name trademarked, because she was really proud of the uniqueness of the name that she'd come up with, and the last thing that she wanted was for somebody to essentially steal the idea for the name. So that kind of got me thinking, and I didn't dive straight into getting the trademark straight away, but it did start me thinking like, oh, maybe I should get the trademark. And actually, every time I looked at that particular Instagram page for her stationery range, I just liked the idea that it said, the R symbol with the little circle at the end to signify that it was a registered trademark. I just thought it looked really, really nice and professional. So that was kind of like the seed being planted for me thinking about getting a trademark. And then I was on Instagram a little while later, and I came across a post for somebody else who I follow who has also got a stationery range. You're seeing a theme for my Instagram here. I just love stationery, but somebody else who's got a stationery range, and she was saying that for the launch of her stationery range, she invested at least $10,000 in product, only to then find that she couldn't sell any of it because what she had named her product infringed on somebody else's registered trademark. I can't remember the exact phrasing, but basically she had written something on the front cover of her stationery range, and that particular phrase was trademarked to another stationery company, and she had spent $10,000 on stock and she could not use a single penny of it. She could not sell $10,000 worth of stock. And that just really got me thinking. I was like, oh my God, I had my own stock arriving. I was on order. It was being printed. It was with the publishers. So, I couldn't stop it. The print run was going. I'd already paid the money. And yes, I hadn't invested $10,000 in my first stock run, but I had still spent money. And I kind of thought, oh my God, what if I get all these journals arrive at the house and I can't sell any of them? Yes, I'd use them all eventually, but that's a lot of journaling for me to go through, because my initial order was 100 journals. And I was already designing other parts of the range, other parts of the Confident CEO range as well. And all I could think was, oh my gosh, what if I can't use this name that I've given the range, the Confident CEO? So in a little bit of panic mode, I started researching trademarks and obtaining trademarks a little bit more thoroughly. Now, I have actually done a vlog style catch-up post on my YouTube channel. It's not published just yet, but when it is, I will link that in the show notes. So if you want to see the whole journey and go more in depth on my thought processes for getting the trademark, and I also go through all of my correspondence with the IPO, which is the Intellectual Property Office, with the UK government. All of those correspondence, I go through all the letters, all the processes. If you want to go more in depth, then check out that video on my YouTube, that vlog on my YouTube, and I'll link that in the show notes below. But yeah, in short, I wanted to make sure that I was protecting my investment. So that's why I wanted the trademark. Basically, I like the idea that it was professional, or made my brand look professional, but I would say 98% of my reasoning was I was so worried that I was going to invest in stock that I was not going to be able to sell. And actually that's quite timely, because just a couple of weeks ago, before my own trademark certificate came through, I then was on TikTok and I saw another stationery range owner who was saying that she has just been alerted that she has got, not her entire station range, thank you, but one particular product has got a trademark infringement on it it's like a load of notebooks that she's got within her range, and at the top of her notebook she's using a trademarked phrase, which, perfectly innocently, neither of these people that I mentioned have done anything malicious in terms of, trying to rip anybody off. They used a phrase, and it wasn't, well, I suppose you could say they didn't research the phrase enough to know that it was a trademarked phrase. So she's now got all of these notebooks that she can't legally sell because she's infringing on somebody's trademark. So I was like, oh my gosh, this is clearly quite a thing. So I'm glad that I went down this route. So the next question is, did I get legal advice? Yes, I 100% did. I went on Instagram and I got in contact with the coach the first coach I know who has a stationery range and has got her own trademark for her stationery range, and she gave me the contact details for a lawyer who specialises in trademark legislation in the UK, and I got in touch with her. Had a fantastic chat with her. She went through the whole process with me from the UK government point of view, because even though I'm based in Jersey, you have to have a UK trademark if you want to have a trademark. I'm not going to get into the legislation of how Jersey and the UK sit, because that would just go on forever. But the point is that if anyone's there thinking, but Verity, you've said before that you're in Jersey and it's got a separate government to the UK. Yes, it does. But for the purpose of trademarks, we have to go through the UK process as a matter of course first. So spoke to the UK lawyer, which was really, really insightful. Now, she gave me two options at the end of that call. She said, I could either go it alone or I could use her team and her team would help me. Now, obviously, she didn't give it to me as that ultimatum in quite that way. It was much more, if you want to go ahead and if you've got any more questions, contact me. But, ultimately, I had the choice. If I wanted to have support, then her services from her team were there, or equally I could decide to go it alone. So me being me, I thought, well, actually, I'm going to have a little look first. Went on the IPO website for the UK government, and I decided I was going to fill out the form myself, and then if I got any objections to my application, then I would engage her services for further support there. That was my personal decision. I could have had a legal team do the entire load of paperwork for me, but this was just what I decided. So I filled out the form, and then that leads me on to the next question of how long did all of this take? So filling out the form was actually relatively easy. Probably took me less than an hour to fill out the form. Clear my payment and what have you. I'll come on to cost in a minute, but it took me less than an hour to do the form. And then what happens is you then get a letter to say that the application has either been approved or it doesn't meet standard. Now, if it doesn't meet standard, it will be because there's like some kind of phrasing that, doesn't quite match up to whatever it needs to match up to. But if it's approved, that doesn't mean that you have got your trademark. What it means is that the trademark that you've applied for, or the phrasing, the picture, whatever it is, because you can apply for different things, it means that what you have applied for meets the standard for the application to be published. So then what happens is your application, so in my case, my application was for the phrasing, the Confident CEO, and that then goes into a publication online on the IPO website, and there are 2 months in which anybody can object to that trademark if they either feel it's too close to their own trademark or they just don't want you to use it, whatever it is. They have got a 2 month period whereby anybody can object to your trademark. After that 2 months is up, then your trademark, assuming that nobody has objected to it, your trademark application will get approved and you'll get your certificate, which is what came through on Christmas Eve for me, which was very, very exciting. So all in, that's like 2 months, about 10 to 12 weeks, I think I ended up having to wait. And that was because I was fortunate that nobody objected to my application. If somebody had objected, then that process would have taken even longer, because then there would have to be back and forth and whether or not I, changed the trademark, if I dropped the application, if I wanted to contest it. But I didn't have to go through on any of that. So therefore I don't really have an opinion and or anything to comment on that process. But for just straightforward trademark, it took, in the end, 2 months for the application to be there for anybody to object, and then 2 weeks up to 2 weeks after that for my certificate to come through. So yeah, 10 to 12 weeks, I think, all in, which was a lovely early Christmas present. So how much did it cost? For me, it was, I can't remember exactly how much it cost, but basically there is a base figure for submitting a trademark. And then it depends on how many classes, they call them classes, I think of them more as categories, but how many classes you want your trademark to be registered in. So for example, when you register a trademark, it doesn't mean that you own that name for absolutely everything. So I own the Confident CEO in 2 classes, which covers stationery, paper and digital products. The range, the categories are a little bit broader than that, but, just in general. What that means, though, is that if I come out with a range of CD-ROMs, I don't know who uses CD-ROMs in 2022, but, a load of CD-ROMs with the Confident CEO written on, I don't actually own the trademark in that category. Or if I come out with a range of alcoholic drinks and call it the Confident CEO, I don't own the trademark for the Confident CEO to be, in a range of alcoholic drinks. It doesn't mean I can't use the name, it just means that I don't own the trademark in that category. So I think that's important to remember, because when I've spoken to people have been under the illusion that once you register a trademark, you own it for literally any product that you put it on. And actually you need to register the name in different categories or classes, as the IPO call them, in order for you to be able to use that trademark and say that you've got that trademark in those different categories. So for me personally, I've got the Confident CEO trademark for 2 categories or 2 classes, which is to do with stationery in digital and physical forms. So because of that, because I registered in 2 different classes, it was a little bit more expensive because I was, like I said, registering in 2 different classes. But it was, I want to say, between £200 and £300. It wasn't, yes, £200 to £300 is a lot of money, don't get me wrong, but it also is not the most amount of money, particularly when you then consider that, you know, I'm not going to have thousands of pounds worth of stock that I can't use because I'm infringing on somebody else's copyright or what have you. So for me, and obviously different people are going to have different opinions, and that's absolutely fine, but for me, £200 to £300 was a good investment to know that I owned the name outright for those categories and for the products that I will be creating and selling within those categories. So in conclusion, am I pleased that I did it? Yes, 100%. I have had so much excitement knowing that I own a trademark. I'm going to be putting up some bits on social about that. I've already dabbled in that, but I'm going to be putting up some more bits on social because I just think it's a really nice thing to do. I think it's made my brand, personally, I think it makes my brand even stronger, and I think it makes it look so professional. And what I love is I've actually had a couple of people contact me since I did put up a story to say that I've got the trademark certification, and just saying, you know, congratulations, your brand looks so professional now that you can say that it's trademarked, which is just, it, you know, lovely feedback to have there. I'm also just really pleased because I don't feel worried that I'm going to put out a product in the categories that I've got where somebody's going to, you know, get upset that I've infringed on their trademark for the Confident CEO, which is great, and I'm very excited about that. But overall, am I pleased? Yes, 100%. For me personally, this process has been really exciting, and getting the trademark was 100% worth it, from the professionalism, from the brand authority, and also just the peace of mind knowing that I own that trademark and I'm not infringing on anybody else's trademark rights there. So if you are thinking of getting something trademarked for your business or for your product range, I would 100% recommend it, but I would also 100% recommend doing your research thoroughly. As I said, this episode where I've talked about these different bits has been from my personal experience only. As I said, not legal advice. I would recommend you getting your own legal advice, and somebody who specialises in trademarks as well. I think that's really, really important to make sure that you're taking advice from somebody who specialises in trademark law relevant to where you live and your legal jurisdiction. But, you know, I'd love to know your thoughts on trademarks. Are you thinking of getting something trademarked for your business? Do you think it's a waste of time? Have you gone through the trademark process and you now own a trademark? Do you own multiple trademarks? I'd be really, really interested to know what your thoughts are. So send me a DM on Instagram or LinkedIn. Let me know your thoughts. If you're going through the trademark process yourself, if you're thinking about it, I would love to know that your journey when it comes to trademarks. Or equally, have you been stung by infringing on somebody else's trademark accidentally? I'd be really interested to hear about that as well. So remember, as ever, you can contact me on Instagram at VeritySongon. You can also contact me LinkedIn at VeritySongon as well. And also the Confident CEO journal with its trademark is available on theconfidentceo.store. I'm so excited. I've been getting some really, really lovely messages from people about their journals, just how much they are enjoying using them. I had a great message from somebody saying that they wanted to leave it till the 1st of January, but they bought it just before Christmas and they couldn't wait to use it because they just felt so inspired to start recording their CEO journey in it, which is lovely. And we've also had the journal now land in America. We do international shipping, and I have had it confirmed that the Confident CEO journal has reached the East Coast of America, which is brilliant. But seeing as it's January starting tomorrow, if you're wanting some stationery that just really inspires your journey, where you can write down your monthly goals, track your monthly goals, and reflect at the end of the month, see how things went, record your journey, just feel really inspired with this lovely luxury journal, hit up the confidentceo.store. And if you sign up to the newsletter, you actually get 10% off your first order as well. So you can get yourself a nice little welcome to 2023 present for a little bit less as well. So on that note, it's great hanging out with you again, and I will see you next time. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of the Confident CEO podcast. Before you go, I would absolutely be overjoyed if you could take just 2 minutes to leave me a review in Apple Podcasts. Reviews are a great way to tell Apple Podcasts how much you enjoyed the show, and it helps the algorithm to push out the podcast to more people, thereby helping us to help empower even more badass businesswomen to grow their inner CEO and grow to be the confident CEO of their business that they can be. I love to shout you out in your reviews as well, so you never know, you might be hearing your name on the podcast in the next episode. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.